Hi, I'm Kathryn.
And I'm Theresa.
And we are the co-authors of the book, Pass the Baton, Empowering All Music Students.
Our goal is to share stories of educators who are passing the baton and empowering their music students. We want to help teachers create music lessons that transform students from passive consumers to vibrant creatives. Welcome back to the Pass the Baton podcast. We're here to talk about all things student empowerment in music education. Before we introduce today's guest, we want to remind you to follow or subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any future episodes.
In addition, if you like what you hear today, please consider leaving a rating or review. That's what helps podcasts like Pass the Baton grow.
Well, today was a real treat. We got to talk to Dr. Tom FitzStephens, who, Kathryn, I think I told you, I actually saw a webinar that he did through NAFME about the topic of amateurism. And it was like perfect timing because I was actually just doing some research on the topic myself. It's like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah. And it was interesting for me because him being his background choral, a choral director, he's said so many things that related to me as a general music teacher. And I love it when that happens, right? When our worlds kind of collide. But so I got so many great ideas from listening to him today, too. It's really kind of nice.
Yeah, it's an important way to think about our students. You know, we often think about the ones who are on that professional path, but they can all be amateurs. Awesome. All right. Welcome back, everybody. It's good to be here. And we are joined today by our guest, Tom FitzStephens. And Tom, I didn't ask, did I pronounce that correctly?
You did, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I was able to watch a webinar that Tom did through NAFME about the topic of amateurism. I was like, yes, this is exactly something we need to be talking about here on the podcast. So thank you so much for being here, Tom.
You're welcome. And I'm passionate about the topic as well, and I appreciate you reaching out.
Good. Well, can you maybe introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background, your current teaching role, things like that.
Yeah, sure. I live here in Atlanta, Georgia. I teach in a public high school of about 2,200 students where I teach chorus, AP music theory, and guitar. In the past, I've taught music appreciation as well in this school. I have a PhD now in music education. I had a master's in choral conducting and a bachelor's in choral music education. And I've spent my whole 16 years, I've been teaching, directing choruses and also teaching piano and music theory and whatever else they throw at me from the department. And I've mostly spent my career doing pretty traditional choral music classroom setups until a few years ago. I decided to go get a PhD, and the process of learning about different styles of music education, of different philosophies, opened my mind up and made me open my classroom up and kind of pass the baton to the students in many different ways that I hadn't done before. And I'm glad I did. And I'm still learning, and I'm growing in this aspect and learning how to let go of some of the control and still keep classroom productive for the students.
Yeah.
And I think, again, we kind of mentioned this before, but congratulations on doing the PhD and teaching at the same time. That's like superhero status in my book.
Thank you. I didn't have any weekends for 4 years.
I believe it. You probably didn't have any sleep either.
Short on sleep too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I know. So today we wanted to talk to you about amateurism and music education. How does teaching with that mindset differ from maybe a traditional model?
Well, so I decided to go get the PhD because I felt a little stale in the classroom. I didn't feel like I was growing as a teacher myself. And that was the main motivation to doing it. Of course, our state also gives a pay raise, and I have aspirations to possibly teach it in higher education. Maybe. I don't know. It depends on if something comes along that I think I would like to do. But when I started classes, I started reading a lot of music education literature, which, to be honest, I hadn't done all that much of, and some of it really hit home for me. I fell in love with the work of some researchers like John Cradis, Randall Alsop, and David Williams, and I started to think differently about the classroom. And I've been an amateur musician in addition to being a professional musician my whole life. I guess what I mean in saying that is I've played in rock bands since I was in high school. I play guitar, I play keyboard, and I sing. I'm a choral director, so that's my primary instrument. And as I got into research and I thought about my growth and my journey, I realized that that was an essential part of it that many people don't get. And I learned my own musical independence by playing songs and singing them myself by myself, and then trying to join a band and trying to put the pieces of music together without the formal school walls. You know, we would just play in my friend's music store. He was an assistant manager at a music store, and on Friday night after they closed, we would go in and just jam and try to learn songs together. And that brought me such joy. Making music with other people, most joyful thing I have experienced in life, and I wanted to give that to the students. And I saw, as I've been teaching for about 16 years, I was staying in contact with more students thanks to social media and whatnot, and I just kind of got updates on their lives, a cup of coffee to say how you're doing, and they would come visit me, and I'd say, what are you doing with music? Are you singing in a chorus? Are you doing anything? And a lot of them said no. And I thought, well, I feel like I'm not doing my job well if they aren't inspired and enabled to continue with music in whatever way, in some way. And so I kind of started to rethink my classroom as, can I prepare them for what they're going to be doing if they stay involved in music after they leave my class? And so that led me to amateurism, as in teaching them how to sing and play at the same time, an instrument, how to learn music by ear, how to make music in small groups, how to compose or songwrite. And so I started changing my classroom and inviting different styles of music in more. And it's still kind of new, so I don't know the long-term effects, but I really hope that as the years go by, I stay in touch with some of these students and they tell me, oh, I'm playing in an open mic night, or I play in a band, or I joined a community chorus or a church chorus, something, so that the music benefits their lives, not just when they're here.
Yeah.
It's such an important concept, because so often I feel like we're training the future music majors, right? Our path, our goal is the ones who are going to go to college for music, who are going to continue to become professional musicians. And in doing that, we're hitting such a small percentage of the students. I think, and you probably know the numbers better than I do. I was looking at something that said like 3% of college majors are in the arts. Huh. That's like a really small number of kids when you think about it. And what you're saying by reaching the amateurs, how many more kids does that open doors for?
Yeah, and in high school we have, if you're in a good fine arts program at a school that values it and puts some emphasis on it, what do we have in that? 20% of the student body, maybe? I mean, every school is different, but what about the other 80%? I mean, they need to have a musical experience as well, and if they aren't into band, orchestra, or chorus, a lot of schools don't have anything to offer them. So I've opened my classroom up to hopefully appeal to a larger swath of the population that doesn't want to feel the pressure of getting ones at competitions and singing like a professional and just doing super high level classical music and everything being about reading. I want to make sure that students are welcome who want to make music in other ways. And as the years go by, hopefully the word kind of spreads that we don't just sing Mozart, that there's a lot more going on. And that's actually another one of the reasons I started teaching guitar class a couple years ago. Um, I probably could have done it. I've played guitar since I was 15, but the orchestra teachers always taught it because I wanted to have 4 chorus classes. And I was pretty reluctant to teach guitar because I kind of thought of it as a YouTube instrument. And I was like, oh, maybe it's not really worthy of study. I mean, I play guitar, but it's not. And I kind of kept rethinking it. And I thought, you know what? If I can get 30 students in my guitar class to be excited about their instrument, to be excited about music, and to be able to make it in the way they want to, I think they're going to connect with it for a lifetime. And that's going to improve their mental health, that's going to improve their physical health, and it's going to connect them to other people and make the world a better place. So if we can reach larger than 20% of the student population, we've got to. I think that's vitally important to our culture, to our future. And I still love choruses. It's my favorite thing. But we need to also include what's the students' favorite things, not just the kids who love chorus. I still offer all the things. Like actually this morning, I was just we have something in Georgia called All-State Reading Chorus. They don't have that in every state. They didn't. I grew up in Michigan, and they don't have it in Michigan. So you have All-State Honors Chorus where the students, audition and try to get into the next level. Reading Chorus, there's just one audition. They give you 5 super difficult sight reading examples. And if you're one of the top 30 soprano, alto, tenors, or basses, you get to go to the Music Educators Conference, GMEA, Georgia Music Educators, and spend the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sight reading a giant stack of music. They pick like their favorite 5 pieces, and they do a little concert at the end, and then they sight read a piece on stage. So my student who went and auditioned for that still has that opportunity. I still have, 15 kids auditioning for All-State, but I've also opened up, especially in my intermediate level choruses, more opportunities for the students who are not interested in that kind of thing. And hopefully they continue in music in ways that they can, because in my class they're going to learn how to play ukulele and sing while they play, and songwrite if they stick with it for a few years. Or I kind of give them the option to songwrite at the end of their first year if they feel ready. Some of them do, many of them do. And then we do, I guess I'm kind of jumping in the next topic, but.
No, that's okay. This is great. But I'll say real quick, I love that you just mentioned that the high quality that you, and the, what you are offering the students who really do love chorus and that's their path, that's not changing. That's still there. But you've also just opened the doors for a lot of other things to happen as well. So yeah, the next question was going to be, talk to us about what it looks like. So you've mentioned ukulele, you mentioned songwriting, like kind of dig in and how does this fit into a chorus class?
Man, if we had the budget, we wouldn't just have 3. We have at our school, we have a teacher, an orchestra teacher, and a chorus teacher. And all of us also teach at least one non-performing class. So the band teacher right now is doing the music appreciation class. The orchestra teacher and I both teach guitar. And this year we do AP Music Theory every other year. I'm teaching it this year. And so if we had the budget to hire another music teacher, we would have a teacher who just taught a songwriting class. I would love to have that as an entire year-long class and get the students who really want to develop that art form and their voice, learn how to do it. But in my class, in chorus class, I always try to do some songs by rote. We learn about song form. So not everything is reading based, because that is really frustrating for the students who are just not at that level and not ever going to get there because of maybe a disability or whatever reason. Their background's different. I don't require auditions auditions don't include, actually I don't require auditions. Anybody can join the chorus. If they want to do the most advanced chorus, they have to audition. But in all the choruses, we do ukulele. I teach them chord progressions. I teach them how to strum. We do some simple chord progressions to start, so they can just kind of go 1, 4, 5, 1. and develop the skills to change their hand positions and how hard to push down their fingers on the strings and how to keep a beat. And then we start with simple songs. And I have a giant book of music that I've divided into beginners songs, intermediate songs, and advanced songs. And the first one they just play and they don't have to sing. And then we move up to playing and singing at the same time. And some of them come in, they already know how to play ukulele and they sing from day one. It's great. But a lot of them have never played any kind of musical instrument ever. A lot of them. We are a Title I school. Not a lot of our students have instruments at home, but a ukulele at Walmart, $30. You can do that. I have a class set, and sometimes if there's an assignment coming up, the students be like, "Can I check a ukulele out and take it home?" And I'm like, "Yeah." We also have a class set of guitars, and sometimes they check them out and take them home. But that was a lot of grant writing. I did grant writing to get the ukuleles just before COVID, which was perfect. Without those ukuleles, my online chorus class would not have been nearly as exciting because we did a long songwriting unit, and all these kids were at home in their homes for a long time. We stayed virtual until February of 2021, so that entire fall semester into February of so that's quite a long time.
Mhm.
And I think the ukulele was a key element to saving that school year and getting the kids singing. All the songs were sad. But they wrote their own songs, and many of them said it was really cathartic. So I think that's what it's for.
Yeah.
I do something called a Friday mini concert every Friday in every class, where if anybody signs up to sing, they can perform any style of music with karaoke, tracks, with somebody playing piano, with somebody playing guitar. A lot of students play their ukulele assignments in that context. But I do have a philosophy where I never make them sing in front of their peers by themselves unless they want to. So they can always make a recording of their song assignments and upload it to our virtual platform through Flipgrid or just putting it into Canvas is what we use.
Mhm.
Friday mini concerts are a real wonderful experience because the students get up there and sing whatever music that they listen to, and I get exposed to all this different kind of music I've never heard before. We have a student who really loves kind of heavy metal, and at first I was turning it on. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is school appropriate, right? And then it actually had a pretty melody, like it was sung. It wasn't rush, screamed. I was like, hey, this is legit music here, and I might actually look into this band. It's called Ghost. I like it.
That's cool. Are the Friday mini concerts they required? Or is it just completely open to whoever wants to? How do you work that?
With the younger groups, they're not required at all. And yet I think more of them do it. I don't know. I require a growth performance of my top ensemble, which can be fulfilled in many different ways. They can sing on a Friday mini concert by themselves. They can audition for something. They can be in the musical. They can sing in their church choir. They can take some voice lessons. As long as they do something that is outside of my curriculum, my daily,
Mhm.
the chorus curriculum, that I consider that a growth performance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All I hear coming out of your mouth is purpose, 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 purpose. Like you're letting them pick what fits the best for them, what makes them comfortable, but also like what fits in their life. I choose to be in the musical, or I'm going to do it through church or whatever it is. But I think that letting them have the purpose instead of, or a strong purpose instead of just, here's the assignment, this is what we're going to do. It's just, there's such a stronger fit when they get to choose for themselves what that is. And like you said, for the youngers, you don't even have to require it. And yet a lot of people do because there's so much. It's really awesome.
One of
So
the,
how does,
go
oh, go
ahead. Sorry.
ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to, off what you just said, one of the
Yeah.
core elements, I guess you'd say, of amateurism is doing music for the love of it. And if they can develop that relationship with music, then they will make music after they graduate, probably. Anyway.
Yeah. It's funny. kind of have memories sometimes, and I had a wonderful experience in college, learning music education, but I did have times where I'm like, do we just tear it apart much, with theory and everything else? Do we just kind of ruin the experience, and not to say, like, of course I need to know all the theory and all those things, but we the experience is and enjoy that experience is such a super important thing. So anyways, I'm just vibing with what you're saying for sure.
Yeah.
What are the benefits that you see with this maybe shift that you've done since going back to school and then trying to kind of refresh your classroom? What benefits do you get from the students, do you think?
The main benefit I see is more joy in the classroom. They they look forward to those Friday concerts. They support each other through them, and some of them take real steps forward to building bravery. They just get up there and sing a solo, and they wouldn't have had that opportunity otherwise, right? They would have just kept learning their alto part, and that's it. Let them make music that is their most heartfelt artistic expression. So that I would say is a change. So I'm seeing students who wouldn't be as successful in a chorus class step out of their comfort zone and try something. And that success experience motivates them to go further. It's kind of like what happened to me. I mean, I didn't sing in a chorus until college. I was in high school and I took guitar lessons and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, wow, I need to sing while I play. And so I got curious about singing and I started singing while I was playing. And I was like, I want to get better at singing. So I stopped taking guitar lessons and started taking vocal lessons. And I kind of kept going down the rabbit hole, you could say. And so it was from my curiosity. Nobody forced me to do anything. And it was the pure love of doing it. So I think the love of the art form is developing more organically in the classroom rather than me trying to gin up some motivation. It's less exhausting for me.
That is always a good thing.
Right?
Yeah, I find so much more joy in it too, right? When you see people in their own elements, they share a part of themselves and you get to know the kids better. And like you said, you learn yourself different genres or different, bands that you might want to start, artists might want to start listening to. Like we just learn so much when we just stop and we listen and we share with each other. It's just such a cool thing.
Yeah. All right. So if somebody listening is the wheels are turning, they're starting to think, okay, maybe I need to try some things. What could they shift in their classroom tomorrow, next week, to start moving towards this kind of a mindset and thinking about those amateurs?
I think there are a lot of things you could do depending on your situation. Grants for ukuleles, that was key because I was able to teach them how to accompany themselves while singing. I started changing my language a little bit and talking less about professionalism and being so professional. And I guess this happened before I started working on the PhD, but I developed a student leadership group. And I let the students have a lot more say on the decisions of what happens in the classroom and our concerts. So now the students make all the programs. I have students who are in charge of our library of tuxedos and dresses and things. And I have section leaders who actually lead sectionals, which gives them some opportunities to be leaders. And that's a tough thing to let go of control of because you're sitting there thinking, oh gosh, you're doing it wrong. I could do it better. But you have to let them do it. Like they have to learn from the experience, even if it isn't as efficient as it would be if I were teaching, right? But it builds community, it builds relationships in the ensemble, and it develops leadership. And so I changed the way I talked about it. I talked more about the elements of music that are across genre. So across whatever repertoire you're learning, you have dynamic changes. You have the tone of your sound, and there's not just one way to do it. You know, um, there there are options for different styles. So one thing I've always done, I guess, is I don't just teach one style of choral singing. We do different cultures' music all the time, and so that helped me is just saying, there are legit ways of singing. It's a choice on how you sing, and different music calls for different style, and different style, different style. Let's change styles, and teaching them to adapt to different styles is really fun. I do improv in warm-ups. There's a really simple game you can do where if so, you can either start it, or if you get a brave student, and you just do a what's the word? Ostinato. So it can be rhythmic with just your voice. It can be with hands, claps, stomps, whatever. And somebody just goes ch 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 ch, and keep doing that. And then Haley, try to fill in the windows. Ch ch ch, bop bop, ch ch ch, bop bop. Really simple little game you can play for 5 minutes in warm-ups, less than that, and it gets the students starting to improvise. And then depending on the class, you just, I sometimes get down to the piano and just play blues progression, or play just I'll make a C minor chord, and like pick a pitch in this scale, and make a little ostinato of your own. And then you drop out. How does that sound different? You drop out. How does that sound different? Come back in. How does it sound different against this texture? And that's making music as amateurs do. And they learn that it doesn't have to just come off the page. They can create themselves,
Yes.
and to me, learning how to create as a musician is using music as a therapy device that they can do the rest of their lives. They can have a dialogue with an art form rather than with a drug or alcohol. They can have a dialogue with it that helps them reflect on their lives in a way that's positive, that can build their own self-discovery, that can enable them to see the world a different way by learning other people's music and their own. So I just went on a tangent there. I'm sorry.
So
That was
so
great.
awesome. Yeah. And I feel like we've talked about relationships this entire time, building relationships with students without explicitly talking about building relationships with students, right? Like all of these things, improving, all of the things you were just talking about doesn't just happen, one day where you're like, let's do this. So how do you build an environment where kids feel comfortable sharing on Fridays and improvising with you, and like how do you do that?
Every class is different, and I have to give myself some slack that some are going to be more successful at others than
Mhm.
others at in this regard. So some classes everyone feels free to get up there. They feel safe to sing in front of each other. And some classes, they're a little bit nervous that so-and-so is going to judge them, And so I make it a part of my kind of week one push that this is a safe space. I actually have a sticker on my door that says it's a safe space for whatever gender expression or sexuality you have. And I say it that this is the culture we need to engender in the classroom. I say who I am and what I believe about that. And then we create rules for the class together and goals for the class together. And they all sign it like it's a constitution. And I say that we're going to sign this declaration of our laws. And I think when I started doing that, they started to think of the classroom in a different way. It's like, this is our little mini society. This is our community. And if we can make it safe for every one of us, then we can all grow. And if it's not, we're not going to have the sense that we can make mistakes in public without fear of retribution. So I think, honestly, that's where it starts. You have to come out week one and say that kind of thing. And then you have to reiterate it once in a while, because when a student gets up to sing their Friday solo, occasionally someone's going to pull out a phone or chit chat, and I have to take that person aside privately and say, this is not who we are. you were talking during her solo, how do you think that would make her feel? How would they make you feel? So I have to kind of police that a bit. But I think most of the students feel pretty comfortable singing in front of me, at least, because they feel seen in my classroom because of the things we just talked about. They feel that I listen to them. When we're making decisions about a piece of music, I ask them, what should we do here? Should we do a crescendo? Should we do a diminuendo? Should we sing it louder, quieter? And I ask them what kind of music they like. They pick a song and I notice, oh, you're into Nirvana. Talk about it, So they have lives outside of the school and they bring it with them. So valuing that and getting to know that a little bit. I also am super goofy in front of them, and I'm not afraid to make a fool of myself all the time. And I think every teacher needs to have that. You just have to get over yourself.
Has to keep it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, because we want the students to feel like this is their home, this is their safe space, and this is where you can be you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you have other ideas, I'd love to hear them, because I'm always trying to do that. I actually had a guitar class last year that I feel like I was not very successful in that. And I just had a couple students who were not great about that. And they were kind of mean-spirited sometimes, and it really clammed everybody up.
Mm-hmm.
And I really struggle with it, one bad attitude can really affect a classroom. And
Yeah.
so you have to have those private conversations and say, this is who we are. And most of the time it works. If you're kind to somebody, they give kindness back almost every time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can all grow in this building a classroom environment, a family, a regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just the fact that, you are talking about like wanting to grow in that respect. And you even said it, when we first got on, just constantly learning and trying new things. And I think that's such a valuable part of being an educator, and for our students to see that in us, that we
Mm-hmm.
are always learning and trying to do better.
Yeah, true.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. If people wanted to connect with you, learn some more about your work, what would you suggest? How could they find out more?
If I put something in the chat, would it show?
It won't show, but I can totally link to it in the show notes. So yeah.
Yeah, I wrote an article that was picked up by Visions of Research in Music Education.
Awesome.
And it was a very academic look at amateurism in music education as pronounced by NAFME, and how it has been championed by NAFME since the beginning of the organization, and how people kind of think that amateurism is not what we're going for. We're all trying to be so professional, and 0.01% of our graduates become professional musicians, something like that. 0.01, I think.
Yeah.
And so I did an article about that, and then my dissertation is actually about lifelong learning. So I interviewed a bunch of adults who sing in community choruses to ask them what about their high school experience may have contributed to that. Because there's a lot of studies on why people drop out. But I wanted to take the positive angle of this is what worked,
Yeah.
And so, I included that.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure that I put links to both of those in the notes so people can check it out.
Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, again, thank you. We appreciate you giving up some time on your Saturday, especially when it sounds like you were working this morning. Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. And we look forward to checking out both of those, the article and the dissertation. So thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
We'd also love for you to consider sharing this podcast with a friend and leaving a positive review. That's one of the best ways to get this message to new listeners.